All that, for what, Don Francisco? For gold, glory, king, and God. I admire you for acknowledging your priorities, for God will always be the last when it comes to avarice. In the emptiness of the vast oceans, the 13 of fame were left on a barren island where one can still hear the bygone echoes of Pizarro exhorting his men to stay, and the long-gone grains of sands where he drew a line have been washed away into oblivion. However, that day will endure in the memory of those who admire intrepid men, sometimes, regardless of their diabolic schemes. Tafur's expedition arrived in Panama in a very short time. A trip that had taken Pizarro more than 2 years to get to the Isla del Gallo. Bartolomé, how is Pizarro? He has been on that island suffering hunger, diseases, and now desertion. What is he going to do with so few men and without any supplies or a ship? We have to prepare for the next expedition, but we have no money. Even if we did and we get all that he needs, the governor will not allow us to go. After 2 months of pleading, the partners were able to convince the governor to allow the expedition to continue. Bartolomé. I gave Pizarro 6 months. If he cannot find those rich lands in the remaining time, I want all of you back. March 1528, Cieza. Governor, that is all the time we will need to get to Peru, and gather information of the empire of the Incas. Almagro, the beggar of the expeditions, and Fernando de Luque, the ubiquitous banker, had been able to procure a ship of questionable seaworthiness and a few men to handle the sails. The governor gave them 2 prisoners sentenced to death. That was all his contribution, while at the same time trying to sabotage the expedition by declaring their ship not apt for navigation. Meanwhile, in the Isle of El Gallo, Francisco was having problems. Capitan. The natives are coming to reclaim their island. Our Indians are urging us to cross to the Isla de la Gorgona, which is farther north and far into the ocean. Don Francisco, you have mentioned the 13 Spaniards as the only ones who were willing to help you in your madness. How about the 6 Tumbesino natives? Shouldn't they be counted as part of the group? They deserve some credit, at least, in this journey of our souls. What? To be renamed the 19 of fame? No. Fame is not what the Indians need. We are already famous for having lost a whole continent. You should realize that you didn't accomplish the conquest of the empire by yourselves, but with the help of our own people and against their own will. If that is going to redeem them from their humiliation, I admit that they did help us. The Indians began to build a balsa that took the Spaniards precariously to the island of La Gorgona, called that way because many rivers sprang from a central mountain like the hair of that mythic figure. As Ballesteros says, with the last of their clothes, bearded to their chests, and thin to their bones, they lived like Robinson Crusoes. Having given up all possibility of being rescued, tired of gazing at the horizon, and when all hopes had vanished, they saw what it looked like, a ship going in the direction of the island of El Gallo. In desperation, they frantically began to shout. Sure that they were not heard, they started to make bonfires and place their rags on sticks, waving to be noticed. Finally, the phantom of a ship tacked to where the Spaniards were. Ecstatic with joy, they all embraced, even with the Indians. For adversity knows no gender or race. It was November 1527, they had been 2 months on the island, and they were ready to continue in search of the elusive empire. With no time to waste, 10 of the 13 of fame, the pilot, and the 6 Indians, embarked. Peralta, Trujillo, and Páez were too sick to travel. They stayed waiting for their return while guarding the natives who history keeps on denying the role they played in diminishing their suffering. It is difficult to understand how much we had to do with our own decimation, and we are still helping the present arrivals to the New World to our own extinction. Don Francisco, what is happening? We crossed the line in the island of El Gallo so we could conquer the Incas. But this is only an expedition of recognizance. Capitan. That is not going to make us rich or famous. We have to return to Panama in a few months. What for? To be the mockery of the town. With the time that the governor allowed us, we will never reach our objective. Men of fame, do not doubt that you will be rich. Trust what Bartolome saw, and what these Tumbesinos have said. The pilot knows the oceans farther south. We won't disembark, unless we find a civilization. I know that we will be back in time to Panama, and get ready for the final expedition. I swear by Santiago. On a cold day and in distrust, they all helped unfurl the sails to go where no one else had gone before. In those latitudes, the winds and currents run contrary to where they wanted to go, and their ship stalled dead on the waters. Eventually, they caught the southern breeze and sailed south. Oh! There is the ungodly Isle of El Gallo. We decimated the savages and destroyed that place. We should call it the Cursed Island. No, Molina. That is the Island of the 13 of Fame. For that is where we made history. Carajo. There is the Bay of San Mateo, where Almagro and I almost killed each other. He is quick with the sword in spite of having only one eye. Don Francisco, you two have been at each other's throats in spite of you being a godfather to his half-breed son. There is Atacames, we almost lost our lives to those savages. Look at them, they are waving at us. Get closer. I want to see their ugly faces encrusted with golden pegs and precious stones. Mierda. No matter how much they adorn themselves, they will always be Indians. Rivera. You are a man of letters. I haven't heard you talk that way about them. Francisco. They are also Indians to me. There is Coke. We are getting closer to the equatorial line. Yes, Pilito Pilot. That is the place where you boarded our balsa. Indio. It has been some time since that encounter. Your Spanish is getting better, and you will take us to the places that you have talked so much about. Capitan. We are passing Cabo de la Vuelta. That cape is as far as we got and then we returned. From here on, I will be navigating on unknown waters. Look at that great expanse of blue ocean. I will call it the Gulf of Guayaquil. Piloto. Look at the island of Puna. Don't go there. Those Indians are savages. Kva Indiano. They are your people, are they not? No. We are mortal enemies. The last I knew, we were fighting them. Who knows, by now their island must be ours. Then let's cross to terra firma. Piloto. First go to that small island that looks like a mummy. The people from Puna call it the Island of the Dead. You are going to find plenty of gold and silver. They had not stopped anywhere. Being in need of water and wood, they tacked to the uninhabited and diminutive piece of land. Capitan. Look at all these little statues of gold, and also human bones all over. They do sacrifices. Let us get out of this haunted island with everything that we can take, including that large and heavy silver vase. Capitan, the ocean seems to be getting calmer and there is no more jungle. They had sailed the gulf in the direction to Tums, bypassing the island of Puna. Indianos. Who are those savages in those big balsas? They are Tumbesinos, who are going to the island of Puna.